I was reflecting the other day. Something I really like to do to process my emotions is write. I'm a writer by trade, and I really, really like doing it to just process my emotions, understand them a bit better, whether that's journaling or writing like poems or short stories. I find it really therapeutic. I also love writing so that I can go back and have a look at how I was feeling this time a month ago, a year ago, especially when I'm going through really big changes and really big shifts. I find it so nice to write these things down, knowing that in that moment it feels like the worst thing in the world, and that within a month, a week, or sometimes even a few days, I can look back and be like, oh my gosh, wasn't that big of a deal. I dealt with it. Everything's okay again. The other day I was reflecting on my journal from when I first got diagnosed, and I just noticed there was this overbearing theme of hating my body so much, and not just hating my body, but hating my diagnosis. And it was like this big enemy in my life, and I didn't view it as part of myself. I viewed it as like a separate entity, and that entity was the enemy. It was awful, it was horrible, it was mean, it was malicious, and it was out to get me. It was this thing that I just hated. And I think in turn that made acceptance of my diagnosis really, really hard, because I was so busy hating this thing that why would I want it in my life? Why would I want to accept that this is my life forever when I hate this separate entity that I've created? But once I did, and it took me a while, once I did accept it and I journaled on it a lot and I spoke about it more, not to other people, but mainly just to myself or just out loud, I realised that there was so much good that came from shifting my mindset to one that was full of resentment, to one that was full of compassion. And it's really hard to do, because when you get this diagnosis, you just want to hate it because it has ruined your life in so many ways, or has taken so many things away from you. And so you want to push it away and hate it. But I think once I switched my mindset from feeling so much anger towards it to feeling so much compassion and empathy for myself, it really changed a lot, because I realised that my MS is purely just a manifestation of my body trying to do the right thing, but getting it wrong. It's not my body trying to hate me. It's not my body trying to attack me. It's not my body trying to burden me or make my life worse. It purely is my body being stuck in a really stressful, sticky situation, and it just got stuck on the wrong path. And unfortunately, that has manifested as MS, which is something I now have to deal with the rest of my life. It wasn't my body trying to make an enemy of me. It was my body purely trying its hardest to keep me alive, as it does every single day. And when I realised this, I just suddenly had so much compassion for myself, and I just wanted to give myself like a big hug, and I wanted to give MS a big hug, because it is just been viewed as this villain in my life for so long. And when I realised what it actually was, it just thinks that my brain and my spinal cord, my optic nerves are enemies. It thinks that those are things that are trying to attack me, and what it's trying to do is keep me safe. And unfortunately, it's getting it quite wrong. But once I had compassion and a bit of empathy for myself and for my body, and decided that I wanted to peacefully coexist with MS, I feel like my life just got so much easier. And I don't mean that my MS or my symptoms or anything like that got easier. It just meant that my mindset got better, and I just realised that instead of hating myself and hating my body and just wanting to be in someone else's body or be someone else, I realised that, oh my gosh, my body's just really lost and confused right now, and it's just attacking for no reason, and it's spiraling out of control for no reason, and it's doing these things without cause. It just made me just want to like love myself more, and it made me just want to have more compassion for myself. And that was really magical. That was a really magical realization, because I just stopped. I think when you get a diagnosis this serious, it's very, very easy to just hate yourself and to hate what your body has become and what your body is doing and the way that your body now functions, because it wasn't what it was before. All I can do now is be a friend to my body and be a friend to MS and make friends with my diagnosis and just be more in tune with it. And my body's giving me signals that's telling me that it's a bit more stressed, or that something bad maybe is on the horizon or about to happen. Instead of resenting it and being like, I can't believe this is so annoying, my body sucks, MS sucks, everything sucks, and just spiraling and getting more and more stressed out. Instead of having that mindset, I now notice when things are about to go wrong, and I'm like, okay, let's take some recovery steps to make sure that this doesn't happen, or to make sure that I'm being cared for, or that my body's looked after. Or if I've had a few late nights, instead of being angry that, oh, what all of my friends can do this and I can't do it, and I'm the one spiraling out of control and I'm the one getting these symptoms, I see it as like my body just needs a bit more love, and my body just needs a bit more compassion. And I guess at the root of it is just like about having self-love, which I think is really important for every single person. And I think it's especially important when you've had a huge body change and you've had a huge burden put on your life, which is massively to do with body and sometimes body image and the way that your body functions. It's really important to bring it back to, just as like cliche as it sounds, just bringing it back to like loving yourself. I feel like when I was hating my body and hating the way that my body was functioning and the symptoms that I had, it just made me so resentful, and I just didn't want to be in my body. And then I feel like I was then battling against this thing, and I was going like head first into this and being like, I hate you. And I feel like when you attack something with anger and with negativity, it's not going to meet you with kindness. It's not going to greet you with positivity. It's going to greet you with what you're giving out. And yeah, what you give out into your body, you're going to get back. And if you're treating your body badly, your body's probably going to retaliate and then do something that you don't want to happen. I used to just be so angry at my body, and I had such an enemy of MS, and I hated it. And anytime that I would see the word or I would hear a story about someone with MS, I would just think such negative thoughts, and I would just be so hateful. And now whenever I hear about MS or about someone with MS, I just have so much compassion, and I just want to know how they are. And I just see it as like a friend that's on the wrong path now rather than an enemy. Regardless if you have a diagnosis or not, viewing a part of your body that you have to live with for life as an enemy is never going to end in anything good. And I think for people with MS, with a diagnosis, it's so important to have that healthy relationship and to relieve stress and to be full of positivity, as hard as it is. Maybe not full of positivity, because that's easier said than done, and I'm so aware of that, but there's already so much you have to battle against. But having to then battle against your own thoughts and battle against MS in your own body is so difficult, and learning to become a friend with it and coexist with it just makes life so much easier and simpler. And I think that that's the realization that I had when I was reflecting, that I just have really shifted my mindset since I've accepted it, and I've almost like welcomed it and been like, look, we got off on the wrong start. I know that I never really wanted you, but you're part of who I am now. We're going to learn to coexist together, and we're going to do it well, and we're going to be friends. And when something goes wrong, I'm not going to blame you for it. I'm not going to be angry at you. I'm going to have compassion, and I'm going to tap into what I can do to make it better. But yeah, that's just the thought I had the other day, and I wanted to share it because I literally like voice noted myself, because I was like, wow, that is so... I never realised that I kind of was making that shift over the months and months that I've been journaling and been writing about it. And then, yeah, when I reflected the other day, I was like, wow, I really do see MS as, which is something I never thought I would say because I literally hated it so much. I now view it as just my body trying to keep me safe rather than hurt me. Yeah, it's just crazy to see how far I've come and how big of a difference that simple shift made in my life. So I guess my advice would be to focus on the acceptance and focus on having, I think I've used the word empathy and compassion so many times in this video, but focus on having empathy for yourself and knowing that your body was like just trying its hardest to get it right, and unfortunately it hasn't. You can either live your life, the rest of your life now, with a bit more compassion and a bit more self-love and a bit more just being a bit more friendlier to yourself, or you can live the rest of your life with a lot of resentment and a lot of anger and a lot of hate towards what it's taken away. Maybe instead of looking at what it's taken away from your life, look at what it's given in terms of mindset or in terms of people you might not have met. And I know that it's really hard because with a diagnosis like this, it does take more than it gives. So it is harder to find the positives in it, but there are some positives. I know that for me, I probably wouldn't have been in this house right now. I wouldn't be living in Australia. I wouldn't have met some of the friends that I've met. There are so many things that I didn't even relate to MS. But when I look back, I'm like, if I didn't get my diagnosis, I wouldn't be where I am now. And where I am now is a really cool place. I know that is a very overly optimistic view, and it's not always that easy. And you can show me this video again like when I'm in the midst of like a relapse or something, and I'll be like, shut up, Charlie, what are you talking about? Yeah, I think it's a nice idea anyway. I hope you enjoyed this video and found something useful from it, and I will speak to you soon.